Good day. Today, we are going to discuss factors that influence demand. We already discussed the definition of demand last meeting. But before we proceed to our discussion today, we are going to have a simple recall to what we already discussed in the demand for us to really see the flow of our discussion about non-price factors that influence demand. So, can anyone here give me a certain word or words that they still remember during our discussion for that demand? Anyone? Okay. So some of the words are consumer, buyers, demand function, law of demand, the price of the commodity or goods. That's very good. So technically, according to economics, demand is the quantity of commodity or service that people are willing and able to buy at a certain price. Remember, there are important terms here. Remember, there should be the willingness and capability of a certain consumer to purchase a certain goods for you to be called you have a demand for a certain product. Okay, very good. Now, let's discuss this law of demand. This is very important in our discussion. So, technically, the law of demand states that the higher the price of a certain goods or commodity, the demand for a certain goods decreases. If we're going to graph this, we're going to create a graph. Okay, this is the graph, the quantity demanded, and the price. Remember, the law of demand states that the higher the price of goods, the smaller the quantity. We're going to graph like this. Why? Like for example, we have the price of 5 and the quantity is 10. Once the price increases, remember the law states that the quantity decreases. So like for example, from 5 to become 10, so we're going to create this 5. So from 5 pesos, the demand before is 10, then decreases to 5. This is a sort of review. Okay? Let's proceed to our discussion. Before we start to our discussion, let's have this a simple game. Some searching words to this puzzle. You need to encircle the words. Find and encircle the word or words from the list below. Words may appear forwards, backwards, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally in the grid. You just encircle. After you encircle the word, can you please give me some of your idea about these words? Okay? You already have these words. These are the words. You're just going to encircle the words and you're going to explain based on your understanding, based on your knowledge. Okay? Okay, this is the answer. So, some of the words that appear in our puzzle are, we have this demand, commercial, the Valentine's Day, this one, rice, artist, there's a change, okay? What is called this pork, Christmas, and other terms. Gasoline, okay? These are some of the terms that is related to our discussions for today. Okay? Remember, our topic for today are the non-price factors that influence demand. Before we already discussed that the primary factor that influence demand is the price. Okay? When the price increases, the quantity demanded decreases. But today, we are going to discuss that the price will not change, but demand will change in terms of other factors. Okay, let's proceed. First activity for today is, let's have this analysis. That's a picture analysis. We have the 7 members family. Logically, if you have 20,000 pesos income per month, according to this presentation, you can afford to buy or purchase 2 sacks of rice for 7 members family. Now, for 20,000, what if you are being promoted? Your salary increases or your income increases, what will happen? In case number 2, you already have 40,000 income per month. And because of this increase, your purchasing power increased now. Before, you can afford to buy 2 sacks, but now, you can afford 4 sacks of rice. What can you notice about this picture? Can anyone give me an analysis about this picture? Okay, very good. As we can notice here, once the income increases, your purchasing power also increases. In short, if your income increases, you have a lot of money, you can afford to buy many things or goods or services. You can afford that. Now, let's proceed to the definition of this first factor. The first factor is income. Income is the one factor that can influence demand, the income of the consumer. Remember this. Income has a positive effect on the demand for a certain commodity. What do you mean by this? Positive effect. Therefore, once the income increases, the quantity of the commodity or the demand for a certain goods also increases. That's the positive effect of this. This is the example. A rich individual can afford to buy more of the commodity at a given price. A rich individual, it's just because he has a lot of income, greater income or more income. Now, let's have the graph. So like for example, we're going to use this graph for really understand what is really happening in the demand. So in the first presentation, like for example, for the price of 10, okay, we have point A, which is 10. Therefore, at the price of 10, you can buy 10 products. But what if your salary increases? What will happen to the demand curve? This is the demand curve. What will happen now? The demand curve now will shift to the right. From point A, will shift to the point B. What is happening now? From 10, maybe, remember, the price doesn't change, but the quantity demanded already changed. It's just because of the non-price factor. Even the price will not increase, but your purchasing power is increasing. Therefore, a lot of goods you can afford to buy. See? So that's a very good idea. Remember this. What's also called the shifting of the curve. Now, let's proceed to the next example. What if, like for example, you are a teacher, you have your own salary, but you already have a business, another business, regardless of your salary. Now, what will happen if your income will decrease? So, if we're going to use this example, we can see that from the previous 20 goods you can afford to buy, because the salary decreases, what will happen now? There will be a change in the quantity demanded. From point A, it will shift to point B. So from 20, it will decrease to 10. Okay? From D1 to D2. That's also called shifting of the curve. Okay? Let's proceed to the next example. The taste and preferences. Remember this. Okay, we are already familiar with this. We love shoes, right? Okay, if you have a capacity to buy goods or shoes, which one are you going to purchase? The one endorsed by Stephen Curry or the one just placed in the market? Which one are you going to buy? The same price. Which one are you going to purchase? Letter A or letter B? Okay, we have the same idea. We're going to purchase letter B. Why? Okay, very good. It's just because it is endorsed by the famous basketball player, which is, in this case, Stephen Curry. So what is this? Demand for goods and services increases when people like or prefer them. Here, such tastes and preferences are greatly influenced by advertisement. So, we are going to think about this. Why are so many products are advertised? It's just because they are trying to manipulate the mind of the consumer. They are thinking, they are going to manipulate the mind of the consumer that if a certain product is advertised, it is good, it is used by famous people, therefore, it is a domino effect. Now, let's have this. What happened to the graph? So, if there is no advertisement, the shifting of the curve will not move. But if there is an advertisement of certain product or goods, there will be a shifting of the curve. Now, the purchasing capability or the purchasing eagerness of the consumer will also increase because they think that advertisement, or if a certain goods or product is advertised, it is good, they're going to buy for it. That's the purpose of advertisement. Okay? Let's have this. Tradition. In the Philippines, there's a lot of traditions here. Okay? So, sample. Preparation for New Year. Which are you going to purchase? Letter A, are you going to purchase firecrackers? If you're going for preparation for New Year, or are you going to purchase candles? Okay. Therefore, we are going to purchase firecrackers. Why? Because these firecrackers are needed for the preparation for New Year. Unlike this one, we are not going to use this for our preparation for New Year's celebration. Okay. Customs and traditions can also affect demand. Example, Filipinos celebrate Christmas. Increase the demand for goods like pork, ham, pasta, etc. In the Philippines, once a certain festivals, tradition came, the purchase of a certain goods for a certain period of time will increase. Like for example, for Christmas. Here in the Philippines, once the December starts, the date of December starts, the purchase of a certain goods that is used during December or Christmas is or are going to increase rapidly. It's just because it is needed for a certain tradition or festivals or a certain celebration. So therefore, the consumer will tend to increase the purchase because it is part of their tradition. Okay. The shifting of the curve. Once there is a tradition, the shifting of the curve now will shift to the right. Even there is no increase in the price. After the tradition, the curve now will go back to its original position. Okay, it is very famous to our users of cars. Oil price hike. In the Philippines, is almost every week there is a price hike. Okay, like for example, in this sample, the gasoline will increase to 0.40 pesos, and for the diesel, it will increase to 35 pesos per liter. Remember, there is a time. There's a time element, which is 6 p.m. So, do you think what will happen if you have a car? Like for example, it is 5 a.m. today. Then you heard to the news that the price of gasoline will increase. What you're going to do now? This time, 5 a.m. Are you going to have to go to the gas station to fill in your tanks? Are you going? Yes, technically. So what will happen to the demand before the time of the increase of a certain goods? Do you think what will happen to the demand before the time that the goods will increase its price? Ngayon, this 5 a.m. Therefore, it is the price expectation. Okay, remember this. Prospect regarding future prices also affect demand. When the consumer expect price of goods to increase in the future, they tend to increase the current demand for good. On the other hand, they expect the price to fall. They tend to postpone their purchasing until the price has fallen enough. Okay. Let's use the graph. Okay. Now, before 6 a.m., what will happen to the demand for the gas? Okay. So, like for example, the demand is 10. But before 6 a.m., this time element, what will happen during this time? What will happen during this time? This time, the demand for gas, gasoline and diesel will increase because technically, consumer will buy goods as the price of gasoline and diesel will decrease. Okay? So, it will increase rapidly. All of them, or almost all of them will go to the gasoline station and fill their tank. Okay? So, the demand will increase. But after 6 a.m., what will happen to the demand? What will happen to the demand? Very good. It will decrease. Just because the price of that gasoline is also already increased. And also, the consumer that tend to buy gasoline at 7 purchase already the gasoline before 6. This skip the increase in price. Okay? So, let's have the recall. What are the non-price factors that influence demand? The first is income. Remember, once your income increases, the demand for a certain goods of yours will also increase because the purchasing power will also increase. The second one is tradition. If there is a tradition, the consumer will tend to buy more goods in that kind of situation or tradition or moment. Even they are not, like for example, for a whole year round, you are not going to buy firecrackers. But for a special occasion like New Year, you are going to purchase firecrackers in a bulk because you are going to use it. So therefore, the demand for certain goods, if there is a tradition, it will increase. Another, price expectation. If you are expecting the price will increase soon, what you are going to do now? You are going to buy now because the price of that goods is lesser. Right? Okay, very good. So, let's have this a sort of review. Okay, if you still understand our discussion, you are going to use this graphic organizer. First, the definition of demand. Remember, we already discussed that. The non-price factors, we already discussed that. So, give me the factor and sample for us to really understand if you get our discussion for today. Okay, this will be our short quiz for today discussion. Okay, so I hope you learned something about our discussion for today. If you have further question, you may ask me. Anyone? Okay, so see you for the next meeting. We are going to discuss next meeting the point of equilibrium and the price of equilibrium. Okay, so good day.